On today's show, is Terik Parascak the most underrated 2024 NHL draft prospect? We'll talk about that and a lot more on today's episode of Locked On NHL Prospects.
You are Locked On NHL Prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to Locked On NHL Prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. On this podcast, we break down everything prospects related for you 5 days a week, Monday to Friday. I'm Hattie Kalikesh, joined by Sebastian High, both scouts at Dauber Prospects, and we're here to break down Terik Parascak's game. He's a winger, center and winger out of the WHL, playing for the Prince George Cougars. We'll break down everything about his game. We'll start off with the puck skills and the skating in our first segment. In our second segment, we'll break down the toolkit, the habits, the decision-making, all the more intricate stuff in Parascak's game. And in our third segment, we'll break down the projection with Terik Parascak, what his upside looks like, and which team would be the best fit for him. We'll also answer the question of whether or not he's the most underrated prospect in the 2024 NHL draft. There's a lot of candidates, so this might get a bit contentious. But before we get into any of that, today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. Indeed knows that when you're growing your own business, you have to make every dollar count. And that's why with Indeed, you only pay for quality applications that match your must-have job requirements. So visit Indeed.com/locked-on to get started right now. Terms and conditions apply. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe. Leave us a comment letting us know what you want us to talk about next and what you thought of the episode. And if you're listening on your favorite podcasting platform, make sure to make us your first listen of the day and leave us a rating and review. So let's get things started right away with Terik Parascak. Let's start with the profile here. Size, birthday, handedness, all that good stuff. Give us a breakdown of Terik Parascak here.
So Terik Parascak is a 5'11", 179-pound right shot right winger playing for the Prince George Cougars in the WHL, which is a stacked team. It's an excellent, excellent team to be playing in, and he has been racking up the points. He's a late May birthday, 06, so he's relatively young for the draft class, and through 68 games this season with Prince George, he has logged 43 goals and 105 points. And so far through 4 playoff games, he's scored 4 goals and 6 points. So the production has been excellent by all accounts so far this season, in his rookie season in the WHL. But there's so much more to his game than just the production, isn't there, right? So we'll start off with the puck skills here, but I think the meat and bones will come in the second segment with the mental game. But the puck skills aren't too bad themselves. So talk me through whichever puck skill you think is the strongest in his toolkit first.
For sure. With Parascak, it's the shot. We're going to talk more about the habits that lead to him scoring 40 goals in the WHL as a rookie. But to break things down in terms of the shot itself in isolation, it's hard, it's accurate. He's gotten way, way better at shooting from the wall, shooting from the half wall, shooting from the dots, kind of scoring a bit more mid-range. A lot of his goals this season have come off of tap-ins and one-timers from the slot and that kind of stuff. That has a lot to do with the mental aspects of his game. But overall, the shot itself has gotten a lot better over the past year. Throughout the season, we've seen a major progression, not only in the shot itself, but in his mindset when using it. And he's gotten really good at pulling pucks in tight around defenders and shooting under their sticks. So the shot has really improved, and it was already a decent strength of his. I'd put it down as a 6 tool grade. It's really good when he's using it from the half wall, but he's so good at moving off the puck that he ends up not really needing it that much. But when the opportunity arises, he can rifle that puck from the dot. But I think in terms of puck skills, there's a definite weaker element of the three between skating, between shooting, passing, and handling, and I think it's a handling skill, right?
Yeah, for sure. The handling is the most ineffective of the bunch. He doesn't. He has a bit of a locked top hand. He's not overly comfortable in handling through multivariable pressure. He can
Yeah.
beat an opponent one-on-one at times, especially against WHL competition. And he is so intelligent that he's able to use like his off puck movement, but also like his first step to create enough separation to then make a play out of there and make a quick pass. But he's quite passive in transition transition, and he delegates play mainly to his line mates to exit the defensive zone and enter the offensive zone, because the handling just is a limitation, and so much of his value comes in how he moves off puck and keeping his puck touches relatively short. He likes to touch
Yeah.
the puck once or twice, then make a quick play, whether it be a shot or a pass, but he's not going to hang on to the puck and cycle around the offensive zone all on his own either. He likes to use his teammates and find those pockets of space, move into the blind spots of defenders, and get scoring chances that way. But it's not necessarily through dangling through defenses here.
Yeah, for sure. I think that, when he does pull off a move, it really has to do with timing, with hockey sense in general. That's why the second segment is going to be really the strongest element of this episode. But yeah, no, when he does pull off a move, it has a lot to do with how well he times it, how well he reads opponents' feet. So it has a lot to do with his processing rather than pure skill, like it is, for example, with a Berkeley Catton or those types of players, or an Ivan Demidov. But yeah, also the passing, I mean, for me has been decent. Like, there have been flashes of really high end passes. And again, that's another element of his game that really is uplifted by his hockey sense, that is very much that flows through his brain. And all of his puck skills do. But with the passing, there have been flashes of like really, really strong and accurate, pinpoint passes through sticks or through lanes, cross ice to find teammates in good areas. So the passing in isolation has been pretty good. I want to see a bit more variability in his passing ability. I want to see him get more comfortable making passes, on the backhand, saucer a pass across just one stick, that kind of thing. Just kind of open up the possibilities from where he can kind of use his pass and make good plays with it. But still, there have been flashes. So for me, it's a 5.5 grade, based on inconsistency, because at its best, it's a 7 tool. At its worst, it's a 3 tool. So there's a big gap right now, but there's a lot of room to add more consistency with Parascak's passing in isolation. And last but not least, we'll get to pretty much, I'd say, the worst aspect of his game, and it's his skating ability. I think that's a given. I think that he has decent top speed, and that's what makes him so effective. That's what makes him delegate so much off transitions, right? Like, he's the type of player who's going to pass it really early and then build up speed off the puck. And his line is very much a dump and chase line, dump and start the cycle type of line. So that benefits that line as well, where he's passing early, his teammate gets the puck, moves up to the red line, delays a bit, waits for Parascak to hit the line at just the right speed, and then dumps it into his route. And then from there, Parascak's able to kind of collect the puck, cycle it, make a good play, move off the puck, that kind of stuff, right? So with Parascak, I think the skating, when he's building up speed, once he gets to that top speed, is good. His acceleration, his agility, his balance, his ability to kind of make quick moves laterally off the wall isn't good. It's definitely a subpar element of his game. At its best, I'd say it's a 4, but it's closer to a 3 or a 3.5 at times. Even when you factor in the high end speed, once he gets built up, it's just, you won't have that much time to build that speed in the NHL, right?
No, no, you won't. But at the same time, I have seen some level of progression in his skating ability. Like, as you mentioned, the
Yeah,
top speed is like an area of strength in the skating toolkit, and at the beginning of the season, I did not see that at all
yeah.
even, so he has been, like, tinkering with his skating ability over the course of the year, and whichever team drafts him would, be wise to just glue him to a skating coach for a couple seasons and hope that he can really work on that agility, because with the adaptability that comes with thinking the game at the pace and the level that Parascak does, being able to move in correlation with that mental processing speed would give him a massive advantage in really unlocking that, like, impressive top 6 NHL upside long term. But yeah, at the time being, I think a 4 grade is kind of where I would settle as well with the skating ability. Earlier this season, probably closer to a 3, 3.5. So there's been some level of progression, but yeah, the lack of agility, like the awkward pivots, the choppy stride mechanics, like there's a lot to work on there with the skating, but so much of his game flows through like being able to gravitate to the right place at the right time, where he's been really able to compensate for those deficiencies in how he moves around the ice by being super efficient and deliberate with where he does move. And that has been very effective this season in the WHL. Like, he has not suffered much at all due to his skating deficiencies this season, but it's more the questions of how that's going to affect him when he does jump up that level to the AHL to the NHL eventually as well.
For sure. We'll get to the mental aspects of his game in just a second here. We're going to talk about the toolkit, the habits, and the decision making with Parascak right after these messages from our sponsors. Well, a new sponsor that we have over at Policy Genius. Life insurance is such an important safety net for your family, and it can get really confusing at time with the amount of companies you have to sift through, the amount of quotes you need to get. Trying to find the right policy on your own can be really time consuming and overwhelming. But Policy Genius really makes it super easy for you. It's the country's leading online insurance marketplace. It saves you time and money, so you can provide your family with a financial safety net starting today. With Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Some options offer same day approval and avoid unnecessary medical exams. With life insurance, what's really important is to be able to offer a wide safety net for your family. There's a variety of things that can happen to you. It's really important to be prepared for any type of situation. And Policy Genius helps you compare your options from top companies, and their team of licensed experts is on hand to help talk you through it. So you can talk to a team of award-winning agents who will walk you through the process step by step. So you can check life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policy Genius. Head to policygenius.com/locked on NHL or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you can save. That's policygenius.com/locked on NHL. Check it out. Alrighty, so moving on to our second segment, and I think we're going to have a bunch of fun with this one. We're going to talk about Terik Parascak's more intricate elements and specifically the mental aspects of his game. And I think we can start with the toolkit because, as we alluded a bit in the first segment, pretty much everything flows through his brain. His skating, well, not his skating, his shooting, his handling, and his passing are all uplifted by his hockey sense. And actually, to a certain extent, I think his movement, not necessarily skating, but his movement is uplifted by his hockey sense as well, right?
For sure, like I alluded to that as well in the first segment with just how efficiently he's able to get around the ice and make up for the deficiencies in well, the skating as a whole by selecting his routes really intelligently and being
Yeah.
able to fall into that soft ice and fall into those blind spots of defenders and just working so well off puck on both sides of the ice, really. But no, like the puck skills certainly are elevated by his intelligence. He is very deliberate with when he pulls out, whether it be a skill move to get around a single opponent. It's always with the specific goal in mind of get around this opponent to make this play rather than just let me dangle around this player and then that player afterwards, right? Where it's like improvising. There's no improvising really in Parasak's game. It's reading and adapting
Yeah.
and building play, right? It is very constructive with how he approaches the game. There's a high level of composure in his game, and he reads the play just so well. So, but he's always able to wait that extra beat of a second to attract some gravitational pull on some forecheckers in order to create some space for his line mates, and then make a very simple pass into space for them. He likes to play area passes to make sure that his line mates can really keep building up that speed when they attack in transition. But even in the offensive zone, he can shift defensive structures, make a simple play against the grain, and give his teammate a lot more space to work with than if he hadn't done that route to attract that pressure. So he's really deliberate, really intelligent, and it uplifts everything. Like obviously as well, like the intelligence completely builds the goal scoring game, and we've seen this over the course of the season that something that was like not as strong as his playmaking game when the year began has now become the biggest strength in his offensive toolkit, and that's largely been because of his brain, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's been the main separating factor is that, with Parascak, obviously a lot of his goals come from tap-ins and like I said, one-timers from the low slot and that kind of stuff. But there's a reason he's getting to those positions. And a player with this poor of a skating base, a player with not the highest end agility or lateral mobility or just overall stride mechanics should not be beating players to open ice this frequently. There's a reason he's doing it. It's because he's so smart. He's anticipating space so well in the offensive zone. He's doing it constantly. He's in constant motion. He's always finding little pockets to work with. And obviously, in the WHL, space is a bit more easy to come by than it is in the pro levels. But that anticipation, that willingness to think the game ahead, that willingness to find space off the puck, I think is an adaptive tool that he's developed as a result of being a poor skater. And that isn't going anywhere. I feel like even if you get his skating to a top end tool, if you get it to the highest it could be, if he ends up on a team, we'll talk about the teams that are possible later that could maximize his potential. But if he lands on a good team that can improve his skating ability, that hockey sense, that anticipation, that predictive element to his game isn't going anywhere. So that's a big part of why he's scoring so many goals and getting to these pockets so frequently, is that he's constantly thinking ahead, 3, 4, 5 steps ahead to kind of predict where the play is going to go. But on top of that, I feel like it really helps his playmaking ability. Like you mentioned, the area passes. Area passes for me are a big sign of a player who thinks the game well. If I see a prospect who plays multiple area passes a game, that's a prospect who's able to identify space before it opens up, who's able to play pucks into space for his teammates for them to skate into. Like, these are I mean, playing area passes requires reads, and reads require hockey sense. So that's an element of his game that's also very much present. He's playing multiple area passes a game. He's playing them well with the right timing, with the right pace on them. So he's clearly reading the play. So for me, Parascak's hockey sense, I mean, it's among the best in this class. For me, he's up there with Constant Hellenius and Macklin Celebrini and those types of guys in terms of his ability to anticipate play and read the ice, right?
For sure. Like, I think definitely closer to like the Costa Hellenius level than Macklin Celebrini. Like, Celebrini just is a bit of a tier above in that category in this draft class,
Yeah.
as he is in quite a few categories, as we discussed in our Build the Perfect Player episode from a couple days ago. But
Yeah.
yeah, he is incredibly intelligent, and I think like that combination of high end anticipation with high end composure makes him just so adaptable with the puck on his stick, despite the lack of real handling prowess or skating prowess. He is just constantly aware of how to solve problems in a very simple, intelligent, and projectable manner.
For sure. I think the other part of that is the habits. I mean, the routes he takes to pucks on the forecheck is ridiculous. He's really, really good on
Yeah.
retrievals. And again, a player that's this bad at skating should not be this good at that area of the game. But it's the routes, it's the anticipation, it's the approach that he has. He's always establishing body positioning first. He's always getting the inside on players, getting under them, kind of leveraging his center of gravity to kind of make himself really difficult to push off the puck once he gets to it first. There's a lot of really, really great things about his retrieval game, and it all flows through habits for me. Habits and smarts. A player with this many positives when it comes to intelligence, awareness, habits, composure, um, you can get away with having lesser high end tools. Like, especially when those tools are uplifted by how smart you are. I look at a Mark Stone, for example. Mark Stone isn't particularly good at stick handling, shooting, or passing. He's decent in those elements. He's above average for sure, but not by a high end margin. He's not a Nikita Kucherov or a Connor McDavid or Nathan McKinnon, but he's just so incredibly smart that it actually works out for him, and he's able to do these things at an NHL level. And I feel like that's a pretty decent comparable for what we're seeing from Terik Parascak, at least so far, right?
Yeah, I mean, I know there's been a different player comp that you've been kind of parroting over the course of the season with Nick Suzuki, and in terms of the stylistic approach of how he looks as a draft eligible and how he should and could be developed in the coming years, I think Nick Suzuki is an interesting comp. I do think that Parasak is going to be a winger at the end of the day, and that's a clear difference with Suzuki, who's been a natural center the whole time. But
Yeah.
yeah, like the foundation of intelligence and the like flashes of really brilliant both playmaking and goal scoring ability, with high end production as well as defensive value, forechecking value, off puck value to the max. Yeah, there's a lot to like here with Terik Parascak. Will he be a slam dunk 100% certain NHLer? I don't know about that just yet. I think that there's a chance that the lack of skating and handling could be a barrier. That said, there are a few players with those type of tool deficiencies that I'm more confident in being valuable NHLers at the end of the day in this draft class than Terik Parascak, precisely because of that high-end intelligence.
Exactly. And we'll expand a bit more on the projection with Terik Parascak. We'll also talk about the upside and which team would be the best NHL fit for Terik Parascak in just a second. Before we've got messages from two sponsors today. We've got Indeed and Factor coming up right now. When you're drafting your fantasy team, do you ever wish you could handpick the best stars for your business team? If you're looking to build a talent roster, Indeed is the best place to get that done. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. So you don't need to spend hours on multiple job sites looking for the perfect candidates with the right skills when you can do it all just with Indeed. You can find top talent fast with Indeed's suite of powerful hiring tools like matching, assessments, and virtual interviews. So if you hate waiting, Indeed's US data shows that over 80% of Indeed employers find quality candidates whose resume on Indeed matches their job description the moment they sponsor a job. So candidates you invite to apply through Instant Match are 3 times more likely to apply through to your job than candidates who only see it in search, according to US Indeed data, which means that you're getting a lot more applications for your job. So Indeed knows that when you're growing your own business, you have to make every dollar count. That's why with Indeed, you only pay for quality applications that match your must-have job requirements. So visit Indeed.com/locked on to start hiring now. That's Indeed.com/locked on. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application pricing not available for everyone. But if you need to hire, you need Indeed.
Eat stress-free this spring with Factor's delicious, ready-to-eat meals. Every fresh, never frozen meal is chef-crafted, dietitian-approved, and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. Choose from a weekly menu of 35 options, including popular options like Calorie Smart, Keto, Protein Plus, or Vegan and Veggie. Also discover more than 60 add-ons every week like breakfast, on-the-go lunches, snacks and beverages, and even desserts to help you stay fueled and feel good all day long. What are you waiting for? Get started today and fuel up for your springtime goals. Factor is also tailored to your schedule to make sure that you have time to attend to all the important things in your own life. Customize your weekly meals with the flexibility to get you as much or as little as you need. Pause or reschedule deliveries to suit your lifestyle. Head to factormeals.com/lockedonnhl50 and use code lockedonnhl50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off the next box. That's code LOCKEDONNHL50 at Factor Meals.
Alrighty, so moving on to our final segment, we'll look at the projection with Terik Parascak, the upside, and which team would be the best NHL fit. We'll start off with the projection here. You alluded to it before, but I think there's a possibility he doesn't, make the NHL. But I don't think that possibility is as likely as other prospects in this mold. Players who don't have the right level of skating, don't have necessarily the most high-end tools, have a particular tool that's below par, but are just incredibly smart. We've seen this before. But with Parascak, there's just a level of intelligence, a level of awareness, a level of anticipation and composure that's just not there with other prospects. So for me, I don't see much of a world in which Terik Parascak doesn't become, at the very least, a very effective middle six player. I think there's definite upside for the top six. I think, especially if the skating, I mean, we'll talk about it in a sec, but if he lands on the right team, a team can make him a bona fide top liner. Like, there's a possibility of that. But yeah, I mean, as he stands right now, I think middle six is the likely projection here in this scenario, right?
Yeah, and probably as a play connector too at the next level, right? Like he's not going to be the primary play driver on an offensive line in the top six,
Yeah.
especially with the limitations in skating and handling. But he is just such an effective play connector, and he's able to make quite complex plays and with just a single touch of the puck or maybe 2 touches and do it so in tight under pressure. And that composure is really something that facilitates that play connecting ability. So I
Yeah.
see a lot of different roles that he could fulfill as well at the NHL level. And it's also especially a play connector role, something that you really want on most of most, if not all, of your forward lines. So he's a player that I think could be a really effective third liner, or a really effective second liner, and maybe even a pretty effective first liner if everything hits. I don't necessarily think that that's the most likely outcome here, and I think might be a little bit more optimistic about the likelihood of that than I am at this stage. But you are a very big Terik Parascak fan here. But I think at the
Yeah.
end of the day, my guess would be like a second line play connector being like the hopeful upside for whoever does end up drafting him, and that will be very good value if he ends up being selected in that like 25 to 35 range, which the skating and handling could definitely allow him to drop to there. So we could definitely see like a contending team snap up a really, really interesting player here on draft day.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of which, Terik Parascak's playing style just screams Carolina Hurricanes. Do I think that'd be the best team to maximize his potential? Probably not, but they could turn him into one of the best dump and chase players in the league. Like he fits exactly in what Carolina, the way the Carolina plays. You know, pass it early out of the on the breakout, delay off the Russian transition, dump the puck in while your wingers are building up speed. You know, collect the puck in the offensive zone, cycle it, play, you know, play shots on net until the puck goes in. Like that's very much Carolina's MO. And Parascak fits that winger building up speed mold exactly the way you want him to, especially with the progression in his top speed recently. But I think that would make him. I feel like that would limit him because I feel like if you take Terik Parascak and put him, for example, in the Toronto Maple Leaf system or the Tampa Bay Lightning system,
Yeah.
they could turn him into a monster. Like if he gets with Barb Underhill, reworks his skating entirely, gets it up to an above average tool, and starts getting involved in transitions as a puck carrier, like that's a whole area of his game he just unlocked. And with his existing hockey sense, that's the part that makes me think like, okay, maybe there's top line upside. I see that as a bit more realistic possibly than you do because of that reason. Because that like if you unlock that carrying game, if you unlock that transition game as a carrier with Terik Parascak, you're getting a whole different player than you're seeing right now, and a much better, more effective player, right?
For sure. Like, I think the Toronto Maple Leafs was the organization that I was also kind of vying here. Underhill obviously is a primary reason for that, but also just like what the Leafs value in their more complementary pieces. Again, they already have Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner and William Nylander locked up long term. They don't need necessarily a superstar, but Taylor Parascak would be an excellent complement on either a first or a second line if he can really hit his upside because of just how well he connects plays, how he's able to find teammates in high danger areas, how he's able to hold onto the puck for a long time in order to gravitate opponents towards him to really create that space for perhaps more innately dynamic players that he's playing with. And that would be just really valuable for the Leafs to add into their system. Now, of course, they have also been spending a lot of their previous first round picks on forwards. I mean, the last two top picks have been Easton Cowan and Fraser Minton, and Terik Parascak will bring a very different element of the game to the table there. But I could very much see the Leafs wanting perhaps to go more along the defenseman route in the first round this year. But the Tampa Bay Lightning, I mean, we've seen what they've done with Braden Point, and while it's
Yeah,
perhaps not a direct stylistic comp with Terik Parascak in terms of that, like Braden Point was a subpar skater in his draft year, and he is anything but now. He's like in the NHL now. He's like a 7.5 grade skater now. In his draft, he was like a
yeah,
3.5 grade. Like he completely overhauled how he moves around the ice after being drafted by the Tampa Bay Lightning, falling to the third round. And I mean, hey, if Terik Parascak falls to the third round and Tampa Bay scoops him up, I would be buying all of that stock.
yeah, 100%. I think that's the main thing. Is like it depends how far he drops off, but for me, like Terik Parascak is among the most underrated players in the draft, and I think that's across the board. Like unless you're called Craig Button, like everyone else has him outside the top 20. Most have him outside the top 25, including Bob McKenzie. The lowest he shows up is on McKean's rankings at 53. And yeah, we have him currently at 23rd at Dobber Prospects with a meeting coming up soon to update our rankings. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of room for growth with Parascak. There's ways you could turn him into such an effective player, and the hockey sense is just off the charts for me. Like he's constantly thinking ahead, and that for me is key. Like I don't want to fall into the same trap as I did with Francesco Pinelli in his draft year, because like he's another really smart player who has trouble getting around the ice. Um, and he didn't pan out. So like there's different ways this can happen. But for me, it really depends on which team lands him and how dedicated that team is to like making him a better player. Because like for me, there's a likelihood he ends up as a really, really, really good player at the NHL level. But that wraps things up for today's show. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe. Leave us a comment letting us know what you think of Terik Parascak, how you think he's going to project at the NHL level, and if you want your team to pick him up. And if you're listening on your favorite podcasting platform, please leave us a rate and review. It helps the channel out a lot. Make sure to make us your first listen of the day. For your second listen of the day, make sure to check out Locked On Sports Today. They got all your news and updates about what's going on around sports. And make sure to tune in for our next episodes as we continue our prospects coverage for the month of April. This has been Hattie Kalikesh, Director of North American Scouting for Dobber Prospects, with Sebastian Hyde, Director of European Scouting and Head Scout for Dobber Prospects. And we hope we see you next time.